The game was Pathfinder 1st Edition, and it was a party of 5, a barbarian, rogue, sorcerer, druid, and a fighter, all at level 8. Their adventure had drawn them into a fortress on the ocean made of tall rocks and mountain tops from a flooded island. Said fortress was filled with piratical, demon-infused demi-humans, because Pathfinder is cool like that. They sneak in with a small launch craft and find the ship that they've been tailing, hoping that the kidnapped person they were searching for was on board. She isn't, but there is quite a trove of treasure. This is a fun trick I like to use sometimes, kind of like the Zelda method of loot distribution, and have them get a little bit into the adventure, then give them some new toys, and the rest of the adventure is for them to play with and figure out how they work. There's a staff for the druid, a pair of magic socks for the rogue, a ring of force punch for the sorcerer, a fun helmet for the barbarian, and a suit of full plate for the fighter. Not long after looting the ship, they are spotted, so things have to get loud. They're fighting their way along a series of crisscrossing walkways over rolling waves and along high cliffs. It's a good fight, very dynamic. They're about a dozen rounds in when a minotaur executes a bull rush. I love the puns against the fighter. I roll very well, moving the guy 2 spaces and off a walkway. He tumbles down and lands in a pool of water. I have him make an immediate swim check to keep above the water, and he rolls very badly. He gets tossed around a bit and hits the ocean floor about 60 feet down. He immediately glares at me and scoffs. "Why do I drop so far? People float?" I said back, "You're wearing full plate and holding a very large sword." He gives me a salty look and then opens the core to see how swimming rules works. In Pathfinder, a person can swim half their speed with a successful swim skill check. The water is pretty violent, so the base DC of the check is 15. Fighter has no rank in it, so he doesn't even get his class bonus, but he does have really high strength. Unfortunately, he's wearing full plate with its -5 armor check penalty. That, combined with his other stuff, leaves him with a flat 0 modifier to the check. Once he figures this out, he gives me another glare, and when it gets to his turn, he says, "I'm just gonna get to my feet and wait." I nod at him, thinking he's playing conservatively. In Pathfinder, a character can hold their breath for a number of rounds equal to double their constitution score. If they execute a standard or full action, that costs them a round of air. With how speed modifiers work underwater, he's looking at about 6 successful rolls needed to breach the surface. He has a con of 15, so he gets 15 attempts to get up there, and if he rolls a 10 or below, he loses progress. I'm thinking he realizes that, so he's going to wait for his party to come and help him. I'm wrong, of course, but that becomes evident later. 3 more rounds go by, some hits are taken, and the rest of the party is suffering without their frontliner dealing and soaking up damage. They can't really get a chance to get away and help. We get to the fighter's 4th turn, and he's still hanging at the bottom of the ocean. Sorcerer offers, "You're near the wall, aren't you? You could just climb up underwater. It would let you use a different skill." I jump on that right away. That would work. Same DC, actually. I know he has some ranks in climb, so he can manage it a lot easier with much less of a chance to fall. He shakes his head. "No thanks, I'm fine." I offer, "If you're still worried about the armor check penalty, you could cut the straps to take it off in 1 round to avoid the penalty." He sneers at me. "If you didn't want me to have this armor, you shouldn't have given it to me." I'm confused, but I have to keep it going. 3 rounds later, he's still waiting down there. 5 after that, the druid offers to break combat and wall shape down to help him. Fighter tells her, "No, don't. I'm just gonna wait." At this point, I'm a little weirded out by his nonchalance. He's closing in on halfway to drown, so I just flat out ask him, "What are you waiting for, fighter? The situation isn't going to change much. If it's a metagame thing, I'm giving you permission to act on info your character doesn't have. You can ask the others for help." He shakes his head. "No, I'm waiting for you to fix this." he says and points at me. What with the what now? I can't remember an accurate transcript for what he said next, but a synopsis is, "This is an unfair trap. How could there be monsters that just bull rush you right into these dumb pits of deep water? It's unfair that you targeted the only person vulnerable to this horrible trap in the whole party. So I'm waiting for you to have something come save me and make up for your bad GMing." I don't know how long I stared at him. In some ways, I still am. At that moment, all my sympathy for him evaporated. The rest of the group stopped offering him any aid and kept on with the adventure. They managed to finish the fight and move on to the next area. But I'm still keeping track of the rounds in the event the fighter decides to pull his head out of his butt. They're heading for the next area when we're closing in on the 30th round, and I tell the fighter so. He responds with, "Then you better hurry and fix this." 2 more rounds go by, and I tell him to make his con check. At first, he tries to roll a fortitude save, and I tell him straight up that it's a con check. He calls me something unkind, and we look it up. And I'm right. He passes the first check and fails the second, and then dies the next round. He asks me what happens to him next, but I ignore him and keep running the game for the rest of the party. We only have a few minutes left at this point, so I start wrapping up. Fighter player asks me why I wouldn't retcon such an unfair and blatantly targeted trap, and I just point blank told him it wasn't, and he was wrong. He protested, but I just ignored it. I've never had a player make such a stupid, petulant demand of myself. Before doing my usual last say, I wanted to read this very appropriate story as an addendum in the comments from your boy Clovis. One day, there was a flood, and this devout Christian's house started to fill with water. A man comes by on his canoe down the road and asks if he can help him get out of there. The Christian says, "No thanks, God will help me." And the man leaves. A few hours later, the waters start rising even more, and the Christian has to go up to the 2nd floor to escape the water. A fishing boat drives by, and the driver asks if they want to hop on, but the Christian says again, "No thanks, God will help me." So the fishing boat leaves to go pick up other people. Not that long later, waters rise so much that the Christian is now on his roof, surrounded by water. A helicopter is flying above, evacuating people, and spots him and drops a ladder down to him. But once again, the Christian says, "No thanks, God will help me." The helicopter leaves. The waters rise even more, and soon the Christian is drowned by the raging flood. He finds himself up in heaven before God. The Christian asks God, "Why didn't you help me?" To which God replied, "Well, I sent a canoe, a boat, and a helicopter. What more could I have done?" And on that note, I would like to say that many people think that things are unfair, and usually they are. But you should always be looking for ways to tilt the odds in your favor. Don't play the blame game. Play smart. What do you all think?